Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. Today's video is about a book. I figured we'd do a book review today because I am quite the avid reader and I used to write essays for fun because I'm a loser or at least a nerd for English. So I figured today we would do a video kind of as an analysis of this book, or at least an analysis or kind of thoughts on my favorite poems from it. So this book is Until the River Runs Dry by Kara Thompson. You can purchase it from Amazon. I will have the link to the Amazon, link in the description. That way you can purchase it if you're interested. I wrote a couple notes both in my phone to talk about. I started writing really detailed notes, and then I was like, I'm not gonna read off my phone, obviously. So then I just wrote down page numbers because I write on every single poem because I have a lot to say when I'm reading books and poetry. So anyway, you see me looking down just 'cause I'm checking my phone to see kind of where I'm at so I can keep track of what I'm saying. Yeah. This is why I write notes, because I can't speak. Anyway, before I get into the video, I just want to say that I know I look the exact same as I did yesterday, but it is a different day, and I am recording a different day. I have one pair of good earrings and a couple different good necklaces, but I like this one the best, or one of the best. And then I have like 10 black tank tops, so I'm in a different black tank top, but still a black tank. So I look the exact same, and I showered again. But my hair is more dry, so... Anyway, not that matters. Point is, I'm still a wreck, like usual. Anyway, getting into the book. She released this, or published it in 2019. I believe it was like the summer of 2019. I could be wrong though. So this book's been out for about a year or so. And I meant to read it when she first released it. I just was broke at the time and totally forgot about it until a couple months ago, I think, when one of our mutual friends was like, hey, have you read her book yet? And I was like, wow, no, I will. So then I bought this in November, read it about a month ago, so halfway through November. Absolutely loved it. Oh my goodness. I bought it at the same time as I bought Halsey's poetry book, and I gotta say, I think I prefer this one. But it's really good. I really liked it. I reread it again tonight. I read it in between those two dates as well. And yeah, it's really good. I have a lot of thoughts on it, like I always do. So first, I do just want to say as well, with poetry, I love poetry. That's like when it comes to books and writing, poetry is my thing. Like, that's my forte. I have read a lot of poetry books. I love reading poetry books. I love writing poetry. I've been writing poetry forever, probably, like since I can remember since I remember like starting to write. So with that, my standard for writing, I think, is pretty high. Not to sound like full of myself, but I have a really particular niche. So while I love this book and I think it's really good, I understand that it might not be everybody's favorite book. And like I said, I prefer this book over Halsey's book. And I understand that a lot of people probably really liked Halsey's poetry book, right? So everybody has a different kind of taste for poetry. I have a very refined, specific taste. So when I can find an author who really hits the head of the nail with my taste in poetry, I really like it. I love finding a book that just nails it. And this book is that. Every single poem, I was like, whoa, this is a great poem. This is the best poem. And then I'd read the next one and be like, whoa, actually, this is the best poem. And it was like that through the whole book. So when I say that, I'm just basically saying don't take that praise lightly, because it's hard for a book to do that to me. Next, Kara Thompson is somebody that I actually went to school with since like kindergarten. Like, I've known her forever. And with that, I've always known she was a good writer. I'm not gonna, of course, delve into her personal life because that would be weird. But I very specifically remember, and still have the book at home, back when I, and a couple of other friends were like in grade 2 or 3 or something. We wrote a book on like saving endangered animals because that was like what we were really passionate about. And with that, I think that's something that's really stuck with her, and you can see it in this book, this kind of passion in her life and this sort of like desire to do something more or to be something more. And I think that really stems from this sort of like save the world mentality that a lot of us Gen Zers have. So I just think it's really neat to kind of have that memory of us writing this book and like when we were 7 years old, and then to see her still portraying those same types of ideas just on a more adult scale. So I just thought that was really neat and thought I would bring that up before I get into it. So firstly, I wanted to read the description. I keep saying firstly as if I haven't already gone over 10 different topics. Ignore that. It's a filler word, I think. And I just wanted to read the description from Amazon. The book is 61 pages, so it's fairly small. 100% worth the money though. And the description just says, Until the River Runs Dry is Kara Thompson's debut poetry book. It tells stories of growth, young womanhood, and being both the lover and the fighter. And those are topics that I think really describe the book really well. Like throughout the whole book there's this kind of struggle of womanhood and trying to figure out kind of how you as a young woman belong in the world and trying to find your place in the world. And then with that as well, this idea of being both the lover and the fighter, which I'll touch on throughout this video, especially since it just kind of hit a chord with me. But yeah, that's the description. It's really good. The book is really good. And yeah. So the book starts with Half Human, which I won't obviously read out loud because it's not my place to read out loud. But it basically is a poem kind of detailing this idea of the first time you go over to a lover's house versus the last time you're leaving that lover's house. And she talks about how being a woman must mean being part animal or part feral in a sense, and talking about how this ex's mother was like, hey, don't ruin my son type thing, or don't ruin my daughter, or whoever it is she's talking about. And with that, like, it's just, to me right away, when you first read it you're thinking, oh, like it's almost self-destruction, like it kind of comes across as self-destruction. And she mentions too how maybe in another life she wouldn't love to walk away as much as she does, but she does. So that to me at first read I'm like, so she's just kind of destroying this relationship, and everyone already saw it coming. But when you reread it and you understand this, especially with the line like, I wonder if being a woman is being part animal too, once you really hear that you're like, this isn't about destroying your relationships as much as it is, at least in my opinion, and just all of these analyses are coming from my opinion, which 100% might be totally different than how she meant the poems to come across, and likewise might be different than how you interpret them. But my analysis, I can interpret it however I want. That's what's fun about poetry. But anyway, to me it really talks about this kind of idea of trying to find the balance between being an independent woman and being a woman in a relationship, because that's something that just is a really hard balance to find. And especially there's this sort of like a expectation for women to be meek or timid or just kind of accepting of whatever comes their way. So when a very, not necessarily brash, but just a woman comes in, guns a-blazing and very confident, very self-assured, very even upbeat to some extent, like somebody who just knows what they want and talks and has passionate goals, that can be very frightening for mothers specifically, people who were born in a generation where maybe they weren't allowed to express that side of their own womanhood. So in return, they expect the people that their children are with to kind of have that same sort of meek timidness. They don't want somebody who might kind of walk over or be louder than their own child. So this idea of the mother right away being like, don't ruin him, or don't ruin this person, to me right away kind of set off this, okay, maybe it's not so much that she's self-destructive as much as it is that she's just trying to be independent. She's just a passionate woman with goals and trying to find her way in life, and that's coming across as someone trying to destroy a relationship or someone who can be very infuriating at times. And with that, there is that push and pull even within her own mind. Towards the end of the poem, she mentions still wondering how he's doing, like genuinely wondering how this partner is doing and wondering what they're up to. Even though she's very content with leaving it behind, or at least she's happy to have moved on to something different, she still wonders how they're doing. And I'm sure with some of that, it's almost like, how would things have been different if I had been able to be the person they expected me to be, or been able to be the person that I hoped I could be, even if it meant kind of simmering in a sense, or pushing down my true self. But, you know, still leaving, still moving on, still getting away from that situation. So I don't know, this poem, like, it's for the first poem, I was like, wow, this is incredible. This is a great first poem. There's so many just different facets to it, like so many different ways you can interpret it. So I really like that. The next poem that I wanted to talk about was The Absent, which I totally didn't mark down the page number of. I didn't write enough notes on this file, did I? Oh yeah, I just wanted to speak about one specific paragraph in The Absent. So The Absent is 2 pages or 3 pages long, but there's one paragraph at most that really stood out to me, and one kind of line in particular. So the paragraph itself is just about being in the hospital. She's broken a bone, it's being healed. That's it. That's basically the paragraph. But the one sentence says, "My bones will heal before I see you next, and you will never know how I changed and unchanged." So right away, there's this idea that we all can recognize and appreciate the sort of, you know, you've left somebody behind, you're no longer with them, and now you're just kind of wondering if they would even recognize you now. Like, are you a totally different person than you were before, and would they be able to tell who you were now if they had the chance to meet you? But for me, this is like a step further. It's like, okay, once we meet again, I will have been a different person and became the same person as you already knew me. Like, it just seems that much further. Like, it's almost scarier in a sense to have so much happen to you in a time frame, and then at the end of that still be the same person you were before it all happened. And that's what that line sounds like. You know, it sounds like she's saying, I've gone through so much, but nothing's really changed, and I wonder if you'll even look at me and be able to see where I've broken this bone, or look at me and be able to see the ways that I've changed, because I know it's not apparent. And that just seems like a kind of a very small thought in a sense. Like, it makes you feel like I can't express that the way the way I'm thinking. I can't express it very well, but I hope you understand what I mean by it. Just feels like so much more of a scary idea in a sense. The next poem was Lucky. I'm going to try and race through these because we're already at 12 minutes. And also my camera's flashing to tell me that's going to die soon, so hopefully it doesn't. But 2 things I wanted to say. Lucky is talking about kind of memories of sitting with an ex in their car, spotting this charm that she gave them from across seas that was supposed to be for good luck, and then talking about how it still represents good luck and how we all deserve luck, even if we don't. Like, we all should try to find luck in everything we do. So the first bit reminded me a lot of an ex-boyfriend in high school, only because I just remember very vividly, he took me to Canada's Wonderland for one of my birthdays, and he stole a necklace with like a wolf on it, or 2 wolves or something. I don't know, he stole a wolf necklace for himself at Canada's Wonderland, or should I say borrowed permanently. And this kind of started like a wolf collection in a sense. So a lot of the gifts I got him after that were somewhat wolf themed. So I remember one of the last gifts, actually the last gift I got him, was when I was coming back from Europe. I found a little wolf figurine, and I bought it and brought it back to Canada from Europe and gave it to him as a present for his birthday. His 18th birthday, I think. Crazy. Time has passed. But anyway, so just kind of this idea of giving a gift to somebody and not regretting giving that gift, even though things may have ended badly. Like, that just kind of, it seemed familiar to me, which made that poem already hit a little bit more deeper. I was like, oh, I relate, I understand this concept, this feeling. And then to go on and just talk about, she compares how, or kind of reminisces rather, on being with that person in bed, or being with that person just in their everyday life, and also goes on to talk about luck and how you need to find luck in every situation. And it kind of ties together this idea of luck being involved in everything we do. You know, every situation we enter, we can take it good or bad. It can be a negative experience, it can be a positive experience, depending on how we let ourselves experience that. And likewise, the negative experiences, or ending a relationship or something, that's devastating, right? But we can still see it as lucky for ourselves. We can see the moving on as lucky. next poem is A Prayer in November, where she talks about walking up to the top of a hill, and there's a metal cross there, and she asks her friend if her friend has prayed to it, or jokingly says something about praying, and her friend says, oh, I already did in my head. And when she asks what her friend prayed for, the friend just says everything, or a little bit of everything. She's trying to figure out what everything means, but all of her thoughts of what everything could mean all reflect on this idea of somebody else saying, I'm sorry, or I love you, or I miss you, or something about another person, which throughout the book there's also hints of this kind of the idea of connecting the divine to love. So whether the divine is God or the universe or just anything else, there is this connection of the divine being love and the love being divine. And this kind of really blends those two things, how when she thinks of praying, she's thinking of a lover. Not necessarily praying to that lover, but it's just thinking of things that she wishes to tell that person that she just couldn't tell. And there's also a poem right in the beginning too that talks about the insignificance of where she is or being who she is, and how sometimes it's nice to feel that sort of oneness with the universe and understand that you are just a small speck in the passing of time, even though that is a scary thought as well, but how comforting it can be. And with that, you know, this kind of feels the same way, like she's barely a blip in the universe, but she still has all these thoughts and these emotions that she feels are worth being prayed about or speaking of. And of course they are. But it just kind of helps amplify that insignificance in a sense, or show it or detail it in a little bit more in words in a sense. I have a thought there, and I hope you got it, because I know I didn't express it well, but the next one was The Black River, which really ties in with what I said prior with The Prayer in November. And again, she talks about kind of being with somebody far away from the city, just kind of out in the forest or out by a river, and just talking about everything and nothing, you know, nothing important, nothing serious, just talking and feeling small. She says, letting me be small and reminding me I've been here before. Again, this idea of being here before kind of connects to the divine in a sense, and can connect to this idea that we all are one and we all are loved in the same way. But she feels this most when she's with another person, when she has somebody else there loving her. When she's with a lover, she feels this kind of divine sense of oneness. And also, like I said, the same sort of insignificance in a sense, or insignificance to the universe. And yeah, that she just, I just think that sort of whole poem about being small when you're with somebody can be such a beautiful thing. Like, it's the thing that you've been searching for. You've been looking for this. There were a couple other poems that I wanted to talk about, but we're getting close to 20 minutes. So I think we'll just skip to the end where, so the whole rest, all the poems are about this idea of motherhood, or about womanhood, sorry, and also about love, and how they all kind of tie together, and trying, like I said at the beginning, trying to find this dichotomy between being independent and being with somebody, and how you can balance those two things. And at the end of the book, she has her last poem, Until the River Runs Dry, named after the book, of course. And this poem just talks about loving someone until the end of time, or until the end of whatever, just loving them no matter what, no matter when. And I think that throughout the book, you know, you can, if you truly read it, you can really understand that this might not be necessarily about loving somebody until the end of time, and much rather about loving yourself until the end of time. And I think that's what her goal is. You know, she's still trying to figure out who she is and where she belongs, but until she figures that out, like, she's still okay with loving where she is and loving who she is, and trying to find a way to be comfortable with that, because she's the biggest support she's got. You know, she's her own person, and also, of course, loving those around her as much as she can. But I think that poem should really hit in the sense of loving oneself until the end of time. But yeah, that is my review or analysis. I could go a million more minutes about it because there's so much to talk about and so many good poems to talk about. Like I said, if you wanted to read it, if you wanted to read those poems in detail, the Amazon link for this book will be in the description. The camera died when I started saying that, so this is me editing. I just want to say where I was going with that is just that you can purchase it from Amazon. I think I said that in the description. We'll have the link. Anyway, I hope you all have a super lovely night. I hope you get well rested. And I love you all very much. And I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Love you very much.